Hello everyone, this is Dennis from Bolder Sounds. Welcome to this quick tour video of the Electric Sitar sample library for Native Instruments Kontakt. I'll just briefly be going through the instrument so you can just get an overview of what's there. It's not going to be a real detailed video like my previous videos have been, and we'll see how this goes over. You can download the full PDF 25-page manual, which is very detailed, at our website at the bottom of the product page, and just peruse it if you like. One thing about the sampling of this instrument that I think is unique, and it really adds a nice character to it, is we sampled the neck pickup as well as the bridge pickup in stereo, all phase aligned, so you can just switch between them no problem. But also we used a small diaphragm microphone in front of the guitar because this instrument just has a really charming acoustic quality. It's very soft, but it adds this kind of shimmery high end to it. When you combine that with the magnetic pickups, you can create some really beautiful tone colors. So I'll be demonstrating that to you later in the video. Okay, so here we go. So I've loaded up the electric sitar. You'll notice down here on the left we have two panels. We have an instrument panel and an effects panel. Bottom right-hand corner, we have a drop-down menu with various sub-pages. Same thing is true on the effects panel, sub-pages of various effects. Each panel will have an about page. It's a built-in online manual, which is very nice for your reference without having to go to a separate PDF. The PDF is a little more detailed, but this will give you something you need to know quickly. And also we have let me go back. We also have mouse hover over help. So make sure the info icon up here is highlighted, that it's not grayed out like that. And when it's like that, you point to any object on the screen, a knob or a button, and you can see on the bottom, I'm pointing at the bridge volume. It says bridge volume, adjust the volume of the bridge pickup samples. So it'll tell you what that knob does if you're at all confused as to what its function is. Okay, so here we are in the instrument panel, and I've changed the subpage to pickup microphone page. This shows you the three sample sources, neck, bridge, and mic. So if you just want to hear one sample source by itself, for example, neck, I turn off the bridge and the mic, we have this sound. And here's the bridge by itself. It's got more of that typical nasal bridge biting quality. And the mic was really intended to be as a complement to the other sounds, but I suppose you could use it by itself. But the real magic happens when you combine them. So here's mic and bridge. And here's all three. This is the default setting when you load the instrument. Okay, now still on the pickup mic page, you'll notice the column below each sample source button. We have control of phase inversion of both the neck and bridge pickup. We also have separate volume control for each sample source, as well as tone control. So we put the tone in there just to be kind of similar to what a guitar player deals with on his electric guitar, brightening or darkening the sound. It's simply a low-pass filter. If you want more extensive control over the sample source, you can click on this button that says Edit Neck EQ, and you see now we have a very detailed parametric equalizer. We also have a whole section here where you can save your own presets. You can customize your presets, save them as a full bank, and load them upon startup of this instrument if you wish to. Okay, so now I'm on the articulation page of the instrument panel. And let's take a look at the key switches. The yellow key switches up here determine the position, and what that means is where you're going to play on the guitar. 0 position would be at the end of the neck, the lowest position, and then as you go up the neck of the guitar, you're going to get into higher positions. You're going to get a totally different tonal character depending on where you're playing. That's the main point of all this. So you notice here in the left-hand column it says position, fret 0. We're in 0 fret position. And if I play my lowest note, excuse me, this E, that's the lowest sampled note. Notice what happens in this fret and string display as I go up. There, I've crossed over to the 5th string samples, so this is playing in that first position of the guitar, or what we're calling 0 position. There's the 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string. Now this will go all the way up to the last sampled note on the 1st string, all the way up to the 20th fret. Okay, so what do the other ones sound like? Well, I'll just click one randomly. So I'll trigger this A key switch here, and now it says fret position 5. So I'm going to start on that low E again. And notice right away I'm at the 5th fret, 6th string when I played the A. E, F, G, A. That would normally be the next string open, but it's staying on the 6th string because it wants to get to the 5th position of the guitar. So here I am, and you notice that A is quite a bit darker. And everything is more darker and slightly muffled. So I'm still in 5th position. I'm playing the 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string, and those will all sound the same as before. What if I go way up to the 8th position? It'll give you a very different, much darker tonal quality as I go up. And now I'm on the 1st string, it'll get bright again. Okay, so we can pick different positions of the guitar to play on, which gives you a totally different tonal characteristic. Okay, now still on the articulation page, we have a column here below the position which says impose, and what that does is it overrides the setting of the position you're playing in, and you can choose a string to play exclusively on. So if you're playing in 3rd position, 3rd fret position like it's marked here, and all of a sudden you want to go up the 3rd string, you don't want to play in this one zone on the guitar, you want to move this way. That will give you a very different sound. So all I need to do is press the appropriate key switch. These red key switches down here are the string in positions. As you can see, it highlights each string. So I can be playing in a box zone and then all of a sudden move up the neck in a more linear manner. And you'll get that. So notice the display here when I press down 3rd string. The fret position has disappeared. And the string, it tells me the string sample that I'm using. Now when I get to the 3rd string, it's going to stay on the 3rd string, all the way up to the length of the 12th fret. To there, that's the octave G, and then it crosses over to the 2nd string. So you have a great deal of flexibility as far as the way a guitarist maneuvers around the guitar. So either in this box shape or linear patterns up a string. And still on the articulation page, something I don't want to neglect to mention, we have this button that says auto fret off. If you turn it on, it turns on the auto fret algorithm that Bo worked on very hard, so I don't want to neglect to mention this. So the way this works is if you're playing in, say, the 0 fret position or the lower end of the guitar, and then you play a note outside of that position, it will automatically shift you up to the next position. So you'll be playing in that fret position. So it's very common that guitar players play that way. They'll play here for a while, move up to here, here, and back and forth. So this basically follows you automatically, and that's why it's called auto fret. So for example, if I play my low E here, and you notice the display here, it says fret 0, 6th string. And I'm going to go up till I exceed this position. So far I'm on F. When I get to the A, now I'm in fret position 1. And if I go backward from here, it's going to play within the 1st fret position. And you see it has stayed there on fret 1. So now I'm kind of noodling around in fret 1 position. And now I'm going to continue on up. I'm going to play a higher note, just a random note. All of a sudden I played a high E. Now I'm in fret position 8. I'm going to play behind that in that zone for a while. So you notice my bass notes now are quite a bit more muted. Totally different tonal character than playing in fret position 0. So that's what auto fret does. It basically follows you around. And of course you can override that with the string impose if you want, or you can just turn the auto fret off. Also on the articulation page we have a release setting. So this is just the release of the samples, just a global control. So if you want a shorter release, it's got a 1K release, you could just shorten it. You know, for faster sections you might want to have a quicker release. Or you could have a very long release, which is almost like using a sustain pedal. See, I released the key. If you want to set it back to its default setting on the Mac, it's command click. I believe on the PC it's control click. Also we have muting. You can just turn on this muting button, and what it does, you can see it's almost like a guitarist holding his hand down by the bridge and muting the strings while he picks the strings. And you can also hear on the amount, change the amount of muting. See, this is less. Shortened, but not incredibly shortened. This would be very short. You notice as it becomes more muted, actually a low-pass filter kicks in and makes the high harmonics more damped, which is what really happens on the instrument. Okay, let me turn the muting off. Put it back to its default. Attack, articulation, these two buttons. I'll go into those in a little more detail later, so I'll skip that for the moment. The next column is slides. So we have a speed button for the slides, and the key switches that correlate to the slides are the blue buttons down here on the left, the very left part of the screen. And so the way it works is you hold down a key switch, for example, let's see. Okay, so there's a half step slide up. So if I play a C, for example, and I have this key switch held down, it slides into a C from a B, because a B is a half step below. If that's too slow of a slide, you can use the speed knob here to increase the speed for whatever particular song you're working on. Let me go back to first fret position to get a brighter sound. And by the way, when you play those different positions, the slides that are triggered are actually sampled from that part of the neck of the guitar. So it's a realistic emulation of the sound of the slide in that particular position of the electric sitar. So if I go to the next key switch, there's a whole step up. So I'm playing a C again, it'll slide into it from a B flat. A little more bluesy feel, and then the next key switch, 1.5 steps. So that's from an A note. And so I won't go through all these, but just give you an idea what some of these sound like. Right? And if you need the fastest slide available would be this. So it goes all the way from 75% of the original recorded speed slide. So you might need that really slow slide, all the way up to 250%. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to get the speed of the slides in time with your music. The other key switches are downward direction key switches. So this is a half step down. So I played a D, I slid into it from an E flat. And the next one is 1 step down, it'll go E to D. And 1.5 steps down will be F to D. Okay, so that's kind of how the slides work. And also one thing I neglected to mention is if you want to assign a real-time controller to any of these knobs, the way it's done is you just control click on the knob you want to control. It says Learn MIDI CC. Just click on that, and on your controller, just move your slider, or whatever it is, knob or slider that you want to control, and you can see it. It'll assign to it automatically. So that way you can control things in real time. It's a nice thing to do, maybe to play in the notes first if you're sequencing, and then use the slider and add to that track by moving the slider around to change the timing of the slides. You can give it a very realistic sound. Okay, let's go to a different page. And I'm afraid I'm going to fail at making a brief video. It's just not going to happen. I just can't move through this stuff quickly enough. So let's go to the settings page. So we have articulation settings, okay? And again, when you get your settings that you like, that I will explain to you in just a moment, you can save them as preset banks and recall them later. What you do is, if I want to work on articulation number 1, these are very useful to emulate slurs on the guitar, hammer-ons or pull-offs in guitarist speak. So if I click on Art number 1 button, you'll see the settings are reflected in the knobs now. I have an attack curve of -11 milliseconds. I have an attack time of 44 milliseconds, and we can also manipulate the sample start. But listen to the sound difference when, so this is not locked. Right, a nice sharp attack, fairly sharp. And here's articulation 1. So it kind of swells into the note. So what you can do is you can play a scale and insert key switches so it sounds like some notes are slurred and some are not. I'll show you a quick sequence that demonstrates that. Articulation number 2, if you click on that, you can see it has different settings. So we have 2 articulations to choose from. Sample start here is all the way up on 100 milliseconds. So this starts these samples 100 milliseconds into the sample, which gives you a darker sound. And this setting is very different. So as you can see, the attack curve is more in a positive direction, and the attack time is all the way up to 180 milliseconds. But you'll hear that sound on an electric sitar fairly frequently, and of course you can adjust these. Here's the sample start, 0. Quite a different sound than if it's all the way at 100 milliseconds. Because it's a ways into the sample will be darker. With these articulation settings, how do you use them? Well, you trigger them as key switches. And so down here in the left-hand part of Kontakt, we have the octave setting for the viewable part of the keyboard. You need to increase that to, instead of +1 octave, +2 octaves, and you can see there's green key switches up here that we could not see before. And that's how you will trigger the articulations, and I'll show you a quick demo sequence as to how that works. So here we are in Logic. I'm just going to show you a very brief scale sequence to demonstrate the articulation settings and how you might insert key switches. Here's the scale with no key switches. Okay, and now I'm going to insert articulation 1 key switches, and you'll notice a difference in the attack on certain notes. Sorry about that glitching. That is from some kind of problem between my screen capture software and Logic. I haven't figured out what that is all about. There, that time it played back better. Here's articulation 2 settings. Very different sound, but it's the variety that's important. You can switch between the 1 and 2 settings in a piece of music and it'll sound not very predictable at all. And as you can see, the Art button lit up every time it was engaged. While I'm in Logic, I'll just show you another thing that's kind of fun to play with on this. Hopefully Logic will cooperate with me. I'm not counting on it anymore. But if I go back to the pickup mic page, you see I have my 3 pickups turned on. I'm going to assign the volume of this, so control-click on this knob. I added something there already. Learn MIDI CC, so I'm just going to move this slider. That's going to control my neck pickup. And I'm going to have the same slider control my bridge pickup. So you can see they're working in tandem here. And then the mic pickup, I'm going to use a different slider. Okay. There it is. So let's see what happens while this sequence plays, and I'll just move this around. So you have real-time pickup mixing. That's what it boils down to. Get the idea? So there's lots of cool possibilities there. I haven't really fully explored it, but I'll leave that up to you. You have 3 sources to switch back and forth between. You could even change the tone controls in real time or any of the EQ controls. So there's lots of creative possibilities. Okay, also on the settings page we have a section for slide settings. And here you have a column with the various slides. And what happens here is you can just highlight a slide and make different settings and then save these as a bank. So you can have numerous banks for different kinds of slide settings. Now these settings do affect all the slides globally. So we don't have separate settings for half step, whole step, 1.5 steps, etc. But just to show you how this works, so I have highlighted up 1 whole step. And right now the speed is set at 100%. So there's my slide at the original sampled speed. So if I want to speed that up to 212, so you keep the button highlighted, it stays highlighted for you, and then you can just change your settings so you can audition things. You can also change the attack curve, convex or concave, the attack in milliseconds. So if I slow that down quite a bit, you can barely hear it. So you find a midway. So it sounds a little bit more like a fretless instrument. And then we also can manipulate the sample start time as well. So we can start further into the sample if we prefer. So you can get lots of different characteristic slides, program your own settings and save them, and then load them as you need them. Okay, and one last thing I want to show you is the key switch page. This is set up for your convenience. If you don't like the layout of the key switches, you can totally customize them to the settings you like. So as long as you set them up outside of this blue key range here in the center, those are the samples. Those can't be changed. But say, for example, you want your Art1 button, and you want it to end up down here on this B, which is open. You just click the button you want to change, you press the key, and there it is. Art1 has moved from way up here, which you can't see because it's off the screen, right down there. So we don't need to move groups of keys. In other words, we don't need to move all the blue key switches or all the red or all the yellow, etc., or all the green. You can just move one of them and set them up totally for the way you need to play. And so that way, you're not stuck with the layout if you don't like it. So thanks very much for watching the video and hanging with me. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I think you'll really enjoy the library. Best wishes.